Hey, Greg.
Hi, how you doing, Carrie? Good?
Good, good. So you have some inside information, I guess. I don't know if it's inside information, is it? You seem to know a bit of what's going on with the royal family, though.
Oh yeah, it's Friday the 16th of February, and this is what I've been hearing, and it seems to be off the mainstream, although no one seems to be talking about it, and no one seems to be mentioning any influence from me. But Charles has done a soft abdication, and he is the big C and has the big C, which is undefined. It's a cancer undefined because he is the cancer, because the British royal family has been illegitimate since 1603 in England and since 1567 in Scotland. So Prince Charles, not a prince, never a Prince Charles, never a King Charles, crowned over a sewage manhole cover. He has done a soft abdication using an undefined cancer as the excuse, and William Duke of Cornwall has said that he doesn't want to be king because he doesn't want to be head of the Church of England. It's probably the lamest excuse ever. Kate really wants to be queen, so they stuck her in hospital for 3 months from the end of December to the end of March, which would be Easter, and they've apparently extended that for another 6 months. So they're shutting her up for 9 months, which you pointed out was the length of a birth, but she actually hasn't given birth. She had no signs ever of pregnancy. She had no swollen breasts, no swollen ankles, no swollen anything except a pregnancy belly, which came away at one stage. And when she came out of the maternity wing with the first son, George, she was still wearing a pregnancy belly, right? So the Home Secretary has to be present at a royal birth in order for that birth to be legitimised. So during the so-called Prince George's birth, the Home Secretary, Theresa May, was purposely on holiday in Europe for that week. So she couldn't witness the birth. So the birth of George is not a royal birth, and it appears to be another Rothschild birth. And occasionally he looks demonic, and occasionally the daughter as well also looks demonic. So Harry's out, William's out, Charles is out. On the 9th of February, a week ago, Camilla said that she would not be doing any more royal duties, so she's out. And Prince Edward abdicated all of his royal positions on the 2nd of February, so that's a week earlier. And he's a non-prince, he's an illegitimate of Lord Plunket. Andrew's out because he's an illegitimate of Lord Porchester, and he also lied about going to the Falkland Islands. The closest he got was Ascension Island, which is 4,000 miles north. And there is a curious story that someone's offered about how his body double was on the ship in the Falkland Islands and almost got hit by a grappling hook. But that could have been a murder attempt on the Prince Andrew's body double, so that Prince Andrew could be removed.
Free.
Queen Elizabeth's out, obviously she's died, and Prince Philip has perhaps died, or perhaps it was his body double that died. So that leaves Princess Anne, and she's about 78 and looks like a graven image. She's always portrayed as just walking along this like a really ghostly figure. So she's offered that her son would be regent for George, right? But Princess Anne is from an illegitimate non-royal family. So her son doesn't qualify, and George is not a legitimate birth. So what's happened is we're seeing the soft abdication of the entire British royal family having been exposed as complete and utter and total frauds for the last 440 years, which is why Prime Minister Elizabeth Truss abdicated on her 44th day to show that the British royal family had been illegitimate for 440 years. So that's good. And the King David and myself, King John, we've been watching them, and British royal family, non-royals, have been doing satanic rituals. They've always done them, but they really doubled up on them. And what happened is we got through to the good guys, the high orders, white hats, and they did counter spiritual exercises against the British royal family and exposed the British royal family as frauds, and that King David had turned up and King John had turned up, and they are head of the house of Judah and head of the house of Joseph. And that's been accepted, and we are being discussed in the lodges. So the British royal family have realised that the prophecy has been fulfilled, and they're just walking out. They're literally just walking out the doors. It's totally a soft abdication, which is great. It's a bloodless coup, and it's happening. And I said that Camilla Parker Bowles had been head of the Northern Bank robbery, and using her ex-husband and her brother to do the robbery and launder the money. And that's been accepted as well. So Camilla's not standing up to be Queen Consort or Queen in her own right. She's walking.
You were the one that actually exposed Camilla with the bank robbery.
Yeah. That's been accepted. And what's interesting is that the Northern Bank robbery was used by, well, it was funded through Elephant Family, which was founded by Camilla's brother. And then he got killed in New York, and that left Charles and Camilla in total control of the Northern Bank robbery money being laundered through Elephant Family. And that money was used to fund a counterintelligence. And since Charles has been exposed as a fraud and Camilla's been exposed as a fraud and a bank robber, and Charles has been exposed as covering up Camilla's bank robbery, that Northern Bank robbery money is drying up. So counterintelligence is not getting funded so much. They would have to find another funding source. But having exposed all of this, not one person in the alternative media has carried on the story of the Camilla and the Northern Bank robbery. No one. That means that the social media is entirely, like 99.999%, entirely
the mainstream. The mainstream media. Yeah.
And the old media is working with the mainstream media, which is they're working on a Jesuit program, which is to create a world of no values in order to steal the sovereignty of, in this case, England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, the UK, Britain, Great Britain, which are misnamed entities. So it's happened. So what's happened since the British royal family dark occult arts have been counteracted and they've been exposed as frauds and stepping down, we've had peace. We've just had this really nice feeling of peace for the first that I can remember. Actually, it actually feels like peace, and I've been noticing it for the last 2 days, and it's just super relaxing.
Energetic peace.
Yeah.
And you said that to me actually this morning. You said, have you noticed the peace in the air? Like it's peaceful. And I said, yeah, why is that? And you said, because the entire royal family has abdicated. They're almost all of them now, I guess, are gone, right?
Yeah. And no one in the media's picked it up. No one in the old media's picked it up. None of them. They're doing their best to ignore it. Yeah. So what we're doing now is we're promoting the people that caused it, who are King David and King John.
There you go.
Start referring to me as King John with a whole lot more confidence.
Oh, isn't that exciting? So I have a couple of questions in all of this. As soon as I knew that we were going to be talking about the royal family, I had an image pop in my mind, and it was about Peter. Remember, there was a Canadian. Being a Canadian, I remember this well. Young girl named Autumn, and she married the Queen's grandson. Queen Elizabeth's grandson, Peter. Do you remember that couple?
No.
No, I probably should have asked you in advance because I often wonder what happened to them. So I just looked it up, and February 2020, they filed for a divorce. And I was like, well, isn't that interesting? Just before COVID, they were divorcing. And, you know, if you remember back, all the CEOs were resigning, all the heads of all these big corporations were all resigning, and they were getting a divorce. And
they were asking the British royal family to front a mass murder of the population of Big Cull in March 2020.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, Charles has been exposed as a mass murderer, so he's got to stand down. You know, basically they acted in mass murder and treason. You know, they exposed themselves as not a royal family, but the worst possible people ever.
Okay, and then the other question is about the boarding up of Buckingham Palace in 21? When the crest came down and they boarded up all the windows, and supposedly the FBI, all the three-letter agencies, the MI5, they all went in and were investigating and looking for tunnels, looking for the child trafficking, all of that. And the White Hats were, I wouldn't say in power at that time, but they certainly had some strength because Trump was still in office at that time. Do you recall that? So
I recall it, but I'm not certain of any of the conjecture, and a lot of it was attributed by others onto me, like the shield being removed from the gate was attributed to my colours being put up there, and and various things.
No, I remember all that. So my question, I guess, was, you know, all this time, the last 3 years, has Buckingham Palace still been boarded up, or has any of this, you know, fraudulent royal family been living in the palace still? Do you know?
Well, I know that Prince Andrew's been kicked out of the royal palace for telling the guards to let us prostitutes in. We out the window, and there's a couple of hookers at the gate. And the guards are refusing them. Prince Andrew said, "You let them up, let them up." You know?
Yep.
That was written up in the papers.
Well, and was that recently then? In the last couple of years?
Yeah.
Could that be a story that the media was making up to show that the royals were still living in the palace, but they actually weren't?
Could be. The UK media is just all lies. It's just it is so corrupt. You know, even they don't know what lie they're telling or covering up, but they have this huge slush fund with money for covering up and telling lies. If you go to the UK media with a story, they'll print the exact opposite story.
Because my feeling is that the I don't even want to call them the royals, because they're not the royals. You've proven that endlessly here. You know, so I think the family, or the actors, we'll call them, actually, because they're not even family members. They're from so many other family and Rothschilds and different kings and princes, and you know, they're a gathering of actors. So I think that they've been living on the land, but in the other apartments or houses on site. They've still been allowed to stay there, perhaps, because we see the cars coming in and out of there. I was just actually in England recently, and I saw, you know, the cavalcade come by me, and they came out from the back of the Buckingham Palace. So I think they're still living on site, but not having access to the palace at all. Because we haven't seen birthday parties, we haven't seen any, you know, events there. With the Queen, nothing when she was alive.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they're a fraudulent family, and they've been exposed as a fraudulent family largely by me. And King David and myself, King John, have fulfilled the prophecy. So the high orders, which you might call high up white hats, the high orders, which are the antediluvian knowledge carriers, they are backing us and not them. They're backing them out, and they're towing us in.
Okay.
So basically, we're catching the tide in.
Good. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. The point on Camilla Parker, Camilla, yeah. I didn't know about her abdicating, so that was new news to me.
Yeah, they're all gone, which is great, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just haven't heard anyone in social media say Joseph Gregory Hallett has been vindicated, or
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Gregory Hallett is one step closer to the throne of England.
If anything, the media has been trying to bring in that other guy from Australia, I think, and say that he is the rightful heir.
He's nothing, because he's descended from Charles, who's not a royal, and Camilla, who's not a royal and illegitimate. I mean, it's great. I was actually the first person to promote him. His name's Simon Charles Day, and he's changed it to Simon Charles Durante Day, and he's had 10 black children, and one died, so he's got 9 black. By black, I mean the mother is Torres Strait Islander, which is halfway between Papua New Guinea and Aboriginal Australia. So she's really black with really broad features, and he's white, so half black children, right? And Charles's father, Prince Philip, was incredibly racist. Prince Philip. So, you know, Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth had grandchildren who were half black, and you know.
Yep.
And so Charles and Camilla have 9 half black grandchildren.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this day and age, it doesn't matter anymore. But it would have been humorous to see, you know, Philip's reaction to all of that. That's for sure. Because, yeah, exactly. But we're you know, coming to a time and age where it doesn't matter. Thank God. Anyway,
what did Queen Elizabeth said? What a gaffe, Charles! What a gaffe!
Did she? Wow. Well, I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic that I think.
It is important, because Charles has no legitimate children. He's not the father of Prince William. He's not the father of Prince Harry.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Harry's not a prince. William's not a prince. He's not. He's the father of Simon Charles Day, who's not a prince, but he's actually the son of Charles. And Charles has 2 other children. One was conceived with a 18-year-old maid at Balmoral Castle in 1968, I think. Yeah, no, 68. And so that child is now about 55, a woman who looks like Charles. So that's a woman that looks like Charles is not a good look. So she's about 55.
You gotta be nice.
And then there's one other. So he's got 5 illegitimate children, and he denies 3 of them, and he's got 9 all illegitimate, or mainly illegitimate, half black grandchildren, and he's not acknowledging them. So he can't acknowledge what he has done.
Yeah.
He tries to acknowledge what he hasn't done, which is not a good formula for reality. No.
So let's go back to William just for a second. You were saying that William doesn't want to be king and Kate does, and so they're hiding her, and that's the scenario, right? But there's a lot coming out in the media right now that that William was actually abusive towards Kate. There's speculation that something happened with Kate, and that's why she was in a induced coma, because you know, they were insinuating basically that she was hit, right?
Well, that's not a story for the non-crowning of the non-Prince William. Just makes it easy for people to swallow. Like that Kate's in a coma and William has her, and therefore they're all abdicating. That's great. They're really abdicating because they're not the royal family. They've never been royals. And the 2 royals, King David and King John, have fulfilled the prophecy, and we're being allowed in.
Good. Okay. So the good news is everything is progressing, and the cabal or Baal and the royals and all of that. It's like, Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, and the London Bridge is falling down. It really is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's exciting times. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Good job.
Good. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for that. Thanks for exposing all of them. And we'll chat soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.